Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
Okay, so let's get into talking about transforming criticism into growth. I've got 5 points that I want to kind of make as we go along today. But let's jump in here and talk about point 1. That is, I want you to start thinking about how can you embrace and appreciate criticism. And if you're anything like me, when criticism is placed at your feet, it can be really difficult to not immediately respond with a sense of walls up, be defensive. I'm, not going to take on board what's being said here, because our singing is so connected to our psyche. What I don't buy into is when people say, look, don't take this personally, but man, when the moment I hear that, I go, no, let's not start the conversation that way. Let's not start the conversation with, don't take this personally. Because actually, for us as singers, there is kind of no other way to take it. I want you to try and embrace criticism as an opportunity. See it as a chance to grow. Whilst the immediate response might be to, and I know for me it has been in the past, to throw up those defense mechanisms to go, oh, that might even be your immediate response, but try to soften that in the initial and just go, okay, hang on a second. I know I'm not perfect as a singer. There's almost certainly stuff that can be critiqued. And so let me just take a back step from those defenses and let me see this as an opportunity for someone to even identify areas that I need to grow in that I might not have accounted for after performance XYZ. You also want to appreciate the effort that someone is going to. Now we have to do this in accordance with the person who's giving the criticism, but at times a person might be taking a risk. A loved one, a trusted person in our lives might even feel like they're taking a risk to bring you the feedback, and we want to be able to recognize that. And so even for us to get into that habit of saying, once we get past that initial shock of, oh dear, okay, here we go, I'm not perfect, and to get to the point where you go, for the next point to be, after I've heard the criticism, to thank that person, say, hey, thank you for taking the time and making the effort to reflect your view of what I've just done back to me, because I really value that. The second thing that we can be working on is, okay, so the criticism has been provided. Now, what we do need to do, and this doesn't need to happen immediately as the criticism is given, but we do need to then analyze that critique, because not all criticism is created equal. Not all criticism is coming from the same place. Not all criticism is given by the same level of capacity for in that individual. So the level of critique that I might be able to give a voice might be different to that which my son could give. Now, my son has done some singing lessons with me. He plays piano. He's done some public singing. But his understanding is not quite up to what mine is with 30 years of teaching voice. So, not quite 30 years. I'm aging myself, 28 this year. 28 years of teaching voice. Not all criticism is created equal. And so we need to need to assess, is the criticism I'm being provided, is it constructive? Or is it actually purposed to be destructive? And I think we can all recognize different times where the criticism that was given was really actually very positive. It was delivered with a sense of positivity and encouragement, It was still recognizing some things that you needed to work on, but you really knew where the person was coming from. What about those other times, though, where you've received criticism and you just know that the person providing that critique was not giving that with a sense of positive intent? Be mindful of that. Analyze it for validity. And then use valid criticism as a tool for self-improvement. When you're able to, if you assess that a piece of criticism is not valid, then dismiss it. You don't even have to shelve it. Just dismiss it. Again, easier said than done. And you go, well, yeah, but you can get something out of everything. That on one level is true, but this will not be the last time you ever receive criticism. So if you assess that actually I'm not in a place to receive that for whatever reason, whether it's coming from the wrong place, the wrong person, for the wrong reasons, just dismiss it and leave it. Don't carry it if it's not valid. But if it is, reflect on it, chew on it, ask for further clarification, encourage the person to unpack it with you, because really positive criticism is typically going to have some thoughtfulness behind it, and that person's then going to be able to really identify specific areas that you can really work on. So for example, let's say it's your pitch accuracy. And in fact, this happened in a lesson today. One of my professional students, brilliant singer, there was a moment where the pitch was just off. And I said, while we're in the middle of working on a song, oh, pitch, just be careful there, you're just a bit flat. And then afterwards he said, I could hear it, but I wasn't quite sure what was causing it. And then I was able to unpack it with him. And in his particular case, it was a built-up sense, a pent-up sense of tension, which was just dragging the voice flat a little bit. Now, in the case of a lesson, he knows I'm giving that feedback with a sense of encouragement, but he also knew that he could ask for further clarification because that feedback was coming from a place of validity. A third area that we want to then think about is seeking support and surrounding ourselves with positivity. I purposefully use the word positivity here because there is such thing as toxic positivity. So we do want to be very careful about the nature of the positivity. We don't want to just be, making ourselves feel better for the sake of making ourselves feel better. That's toxic. That's not going to actually lead anywhere positive. But that being said, we can find ourselves in communities of singers who are going to give us and provide us with that sense of really non-toxic positivity. And so you want to connect yourselves with those people. And once again, it's an opportunity for me to encourage you to engage in groups like ours here at Voice Essentials. Become a part of the community, subscribe to the YouTube channel, join the Facebook group community. It's a wonderfully positive, encouraging group. You will receive moments of critique, sometimes from me, where I'll identify something in a performance that you might have uploaded to the group. But for the most part, it's such a wonderful group of people that you can engage with and grow with. I think that's fantastic. And also think about community groups like community choirs. I participate in my community church. It's an opportunity for me to be with like-minded people, to be with people who are into music and developing their voice, or it's just a matter of us having that sense of connection with other people, and in this particular instance, with other people who are interested in developing their singing. And community choirs are awesome. I'm regularly directing students towards their involvement and their engagement in community choirs. Practice and seek professional guidance. There are times where we do need that additional layer, dare I say, that higher level of critique that friends, family, and community may not be able to provide. And that comes from your ability to engage and interact with professional level guidance. A good singing teacher is going to be directing you towards regular practice. But equally, a good singing teacher isn't just going to be directing you towards regular practice of singing songs, because if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. You've heard me say that before. We do have to be practicing in such a way that it's got a sense of forward momentum, a sense of development of particular skills. In doing so, we're then able to workshop certain skills, which you're almost certainly going to find challenging to really refine. Here in my lessons, we spend 15 to 20 minutes, so a third of the lesson, reviewing, refining exercises we may have been doing for weeks, but they need to be continued to be tweaked in order to produce better outcomes, because, you know, we're going to be able to target very specific things in that development of the regular practice. Practice is not just about repeating the same mistakes. Practice is about, yes, making mistakes, but then refining, polishing, you know, doing all the things that we need to move forward. And this almost brings us full circle back to where we started. Respond graciously and stay motivated. One way we can respond graciously is don't feel like you need to tell the person who's providing the feedback whether or not their feedback is valid or not. You don't need to tell them that. You can respond magnanimously and say, hey, thanks very much for bringing that to my attention. But equally, you might, in that very same moment, go within yourself, there is no way I'm taking that on. Or you can respond graciously, again, recognizing the effort, and go, thank you so much. I'm working on that area, and it's really helpful to have your reflection on my performance or what I'm doing, because it's really going to continue to build into the fact that I am currently workshopping my breath management or pitch accuracy or vowel shape or performance engagement. We could be here all day talking about the different factors around your singing. And so you want to be gracious, you want to be thankful, but at no point don't allow any criticism, valid or otherwise, to form and fester any level of discouragement. None of us have arrived. We are all on a journey of development. And what we want that criticism to do is to create motivation, forward momentum in the development. There's no question that at times, and I've certainly experienced this myself, at times criticism, we can take a hit. And sometimes, even if it's not intentionally designed to hurt, it can be hurtful. Once we recover from that intended or otherwise hurt, that hit that we've taken, dust yourself off, go again. Because the most unfortunate outcome of criticism is for a singer to stop and not keep going. And so we want to maintain that sense of motivation, that sense of continuing, because we want to be transformed. We want to grow, don't we? And like I said, I want this all to be a really positive message to you, because you're going to have to handle criticism at some point. You will already have had to handle criticism at some point. And so I hope that's encouraging to you today.